Good evening, everyone. This is Jason back with a layout update for the Red Rock Northern. Today is January 1st, 2019. So first of all, Happy New Year, everyone. It's been a while since my last update. Last update, I believe, was towards the end of May, Memorial Day weekend, 2018. So it's been close to 7 months. Took some time off during the summer, working on some other things. But suffice to say, I do have a number of updates to show and to talk about and to highlight. Mostly scenery related. So if you've been watching my layout, you know that the track's been laid for quite a while, and I've been struggling with scenery, not one of my strong points. So let's take a step into the layout. We'll pan around the layout once, and then I'll dive into the updates. So those that are not familiar, this is a twice around the room layout, an 11 by 10 spare bedroom in the basement. It's a point to point, actually. It runs as a point to point. So this is Red Rock yard. So the railroad starts here out the yard. We cross a service road to the yard facilities. This will eventually be a tunnel, and we come out of the tunnel and we're on the main line. We come around we climb the hill. It's about a 3% grade, give or take, up to summit. Got our first industry up here, a coal industry. Around the room we've got another industry in the back here, actually two industries. The plastic pellet silos are there just for kind of looks. I'm not sure what to do with those yet. They're kind of extra. But we've also got a flower facility here. It's a background building, so we can dump off hoppers there. Come around, we've got Medusa cement kit, so cement facility. Come across the bridge, George's Gorge, actually two bridges, and then we come down into the end point, which is Granite Creek. We go by Centennial Mills here, takes grain or soybeans. We got the office and the sampling arm and I believe that's a scale. I've had this building for a while. This is a gruesome casket facility or industry. Just put that there. It seems to look fine there. And then we continue on in Granite Creek. We've got a passenger station. We've got a freight depot. We've got an oil industry in the background there. We've got a lumber facility here in the foreground. And then what we would call downtown Granite Creek. The railroad terminates here. We can run continuous trains. We can go through the tunnel. We're westbound here. We go westbound through the tunnel at Granite Creek, and we'd wind up in Red Rock again. However, that's not how the railroad was designed to be run. It's a point to point, so ideally we switch cars here and then we reverse and go back to Granite Creek that way, but we can run continuous trains around in circles for my enjoyment and anyone else's enjoyment who's looking at the layout. All right, so the first update that I'm going to highlight, again, a lot of these scenery related. As some of you might or might not know, I'm working with some tight spaces here. It's an 11 by 10 layout, and one of the tightest spots on the layout is this tunnel coming out of Red Rock. So again, this tunnel allows continuous running twice around the room, but for operations purposes, it's actually a tunnel that goes eastbound to hidden staging. Okay, so we can bring interchange in from hidden staging over there behind that granite retaining wall. It actually comes in out of this tunnel, switches cars, and then goes back in. But the highlight here is that I finally got a tunnel portal cut to fit this tight space, and I also got it stained or painted. Rather, I washed it with colors, and it actually turned out pretty good. Somewhat intimidated by painting and scenery in general, just not very good at it. You can see some seams from the cut marks. This is going to work for me. It's just a modest layout, but I was able to carefully cut it to size. I actually cut it in half here to squish it together. I had to make it more narrow. I cut both of the sides off, okay, on each side, because this was much wider. And then I cut the bottom off and made it shorter, also that it would fit in this tight space. And then the trains do run through there barely with a little bit of clearance, but even my longest passenger car, as well as my SD60 locomotives with the widest sun visors, do fit through there. So that was carefully cut and placed, and it's in an exact position such that it wouldn't fit and allow trains to run through any other way. So spent a lot of time working on this. The painting process actually I did the other night with my daughter only took about 3 minutes once I got the watercolor, or the Woodland Scenics colors, the pigments, got those ready to go. That goes very quickly. In my first attempt, I liked how this came out, and so I sealed it with scenic cement, and I'm gonna call it good. You can also see that I've started. There was a hole up here. I've started covering this up. We'll put some plaster cloth on, sculpt a mold probably, and we'll get this covered with grass. Had to cut out a hole back here, as there is a turnout here. With a turnout stand, so obviously that doesn't look too natural, but we'll make it work. Use our imagination. Next up is the Granite Creek retaining wall. Last time you saw this, it was just knocking buildings around here. Last time you saw this, it was just bare hardboard. I've covered it with some actual granite backing paper and glued it on with Elmer's white glue. That runs most of the length of the hidden staging, which it covers up, and then you can see down here it meets some plaster cloth where we're gonna make a grass hill come out. I want these retaining walls to be quickly removable in case we've got problems with trains behind this hidden staging. And what I did is I took, some people like to use magnets. What I found to work was these Scotch fasteners. So this is just circular velcro, and what I did is I put the velcro, let's see if we can, gotta be careful, we got a train running by here, in a couple different spots. I put velcro on the back of the hardboard. And then, since again I'm working with tight spaces here, I can't have this retaining wall pushing out too far, else it pushes out my oil industry, and I got a very tight clearance for tank cars to fit in there, as well as to fit by those storage tanks. So I need a very tight fit of this hardboard to go in against the sub road bed. So what I did is I took a Forstner bit and I recessed the soft part of that velcro inside that hole I cut out with the Forstner bit, and then we just take the wall, push it up against there, and it stays. So if we got all kinds of train disasters back in the hidden staging, I can quickly, just pull these oil cars out, tank cars, and as well as the oil platform, pull that out, and then this retaining wall comes right off, and we've got instant visibility and access to trains behind hidden staging that run the entire length right up to under the coal industry. I will do the same thing I did here. I will apply that methodology to this retaining wall as well. So we get some granite or other type of stone paper, put it on there, and then I'll get the Velcro fastening strips put on here as well, because we've got hidden staging behind these retaining walls as well in Red Rock. This is the hidden staging that would come out of the tunnel in Granite Creek, and so this hidden staging over here simulates railroads further off to the west for interchange in that direction. Okay. By the way, the locomotive that's currently running. That's a Burlington Northern Jeep 30 I just picked up. My newest purchase. Finally found one. I've been looking for one for months. A Burlington Northern Cascade Green Jeep 30. As my layout is now pretty much solely focused on Burlington Northern. Found that guy on eBay finally. And then as well, 2 of my Christmas gifts from my brother and his girlfriend. The Burlington Northern fuel tender I got running there, and then at the very end got a Burlington Northern flat car. Alright, next up is the Granite Creek tunnel. So again, trying to struggle my way through scenery. I got this tunnel portal here. This one, I'm trying to remember if I cut this guy. Yeah, I cut this tunnel. I cut the right edge off the tunnel. I had to make that more narrow so it would push up against the retaining wall and stay fairly narrow, not stick way out into downtown Granite Creek. So this one was trimmed a little bit. I think I actually trimmed the bottom as well, so I made it shorter. But this is a 2-track tunnel portal, and I got about 1.5 track widths going through there. You can see I committed a major sin, and I've got a turnout inside the tunnel. It is what it is. It's operated well for 2.5 years. Don't expect any problems with it. You know, if push comes to shove and I've got major problems with the turnout or it has to be replaced, I just simply tear out this tunnel. You know, it's just plaster cloth and cardboard strips, fix the turnout, replace it, whatever, and then I'll just rebuild the tunnel. It's not that big of a deal. But anyways, that's how the track plan was designed, with that turnout more or less in the tunnel. There's actually another turnout for hidden staging even further back in the tunnel. So those guys operate pretty well. Had no problems with them whatsoever. They're Prairie Co-Op frogs. So anyways, working on the tunnel. I've got the plaster cloth on there. Simply need to get some sculpting mold on there, a little bit of that, and paint it and put some grass on it and call it done. Alright, this next one's again a work in progress, and probably a little bit of the earlier stages. Up in our coal industry, this is actually labeled Champion Mine. I've started something I've been hemming and hawing on for quite a while. I knew I wanted it, wasn't sure how to go, the best way about to go doing it, either using foam or cardboard strips, but the basic need was a hill here, or a mountain. The requirement of this is to hide the track for the coal industry that ultimately goes right into a wall. Okay, so that doesn't look very good. So the idea here that I had was to obstruct the view of that track. And so the idea is that this coal industry, this coal dumper, is situated, you know, in some foothills. This is Summit, so this is kind of up in the mountains. You climb a 3% grade to get here. But the idea is that this coal industry is situated within some terrain, and the tracks for this coal industry actually go much further back, you know, into this valley, if you want to call it that. Even though I can only fit 2 coal cars in here, the idea is that, you know, you can think of, let the mind wander, you know, and say we've got, you know, 20, 30, 40 coal cars going back into the mountains. Obviously, to sell this right, we got to get some paint and some grass on here, and then I've got to get some accompanying paint on the backdrop here to kind of allow this mountain to flow right into the backdrop. The other kind of sub requirement that I wanted was, in case we got any problems with track back here, or I need to get at this coal industry, or need to perform any kind of maintenance, it would be nice that this hill or mountain is removable. Obviously no room for a hatch here. And so that led me away from using cardboard strips coming across out of the backdrop and making this out of foam, and I'm simply going to be able to remove this to get at the tracks here. And so this mountain or this foam will not be permanently attached to the layout there. I can simply pick it up and move it as needed. So again, got to paint it, get some grass on it. I may get some put some rock work on there. You can see towards the end here, I was melting the pieces of foam with hot glue, made some holes, and the tail even broke off, and I put it back together with a chopstick dowel. That was what I had in the train room, and it actually worked well. Speaking of rocks, I did create a number of rock castings, and so I'm gonna work on painting or staining these as well with some washes, and try to find some places around the layout where I can stick these things. So I was thinking, you know, up here on the hill, maybe you know, against this grass wall here, you know, just some random spots. Next update, somewhat minor. The Prairie Co-Op sampling arm and office used to be located right here. Trying to make or use as much space and room as possible. I thought this would be a good place for it, so it used to sit right here, and there was a cutout in the rock. I decided later on against that. Just recently, I filled this in with rock, and I actually moved the office over here. This is probably going to be more prototypical. The way, so the street for it to access this industry actually, you know, theoretically comes in here. I don't have the street lines painted yet, and then they come in, trucks make a right here. The first thing that they do is they hit this scale. I believe that's a scale, but the sampling arm is there as well, and they sample the soybeans or the grain or whatever. I think they test the quality. That's the idea behind that. Then they pull in and they empty their trailer, and it goes into the silos, and then they take their empty trailer and they leave. So I thought later on it made more sense for the sampling office and the scale to go here before the silos and coming in from the street, whereas before, you know, I said, well, let's have them, you know, drive in, then drive through the, you know, the shed, and then they get weighed and the sample over here, and then they got to back up and you know, and unload and then back out. And that just kind of seems screwy, so I put it here as well. While we're in this area, I've also put in blacktop. So blacktop for the Prairie Co-op industry, as well as a gruesome casket. And I also got down the ground foam around here and got it pretty mostly neatly situated. And I still have to put some thicker shrubbery in here, but I got the basic couple different types of earth mix, grass in here. And then as well as pavement for the trucks to drive on and access these industries. I also put in the, if you look at the passenger station, this is new. We got the blacktop in the street that provides access to the passenger depot in Granite Creek, as well as this warehouse facility. I've been fighting with what industry is actually going to be here. I've got a couple different buildings that can actually fit there. Lately I've just been using this one, and I also picked up this water tower for my father-in-law. And the water tower fits nicely on that building, so probably use this building there for a while, and if I get sick of it, I got other buildings for freshness I can stick in there. Alright, bridges. So I've built or installed I've roughed in 3 new bridges and what will be their abutments, bridge abutments. So climbing the grade to summit, here's actually the last bridge. This is a plate girder bridge, so this is installed, and I've got some 3/4 inch plywood that I'll use and cut down to shape and size. Those will be the abutments. Down here we've got a Warren, I believe this is a Warren truss. Yeah, I believe this is a worn truss bridge. This is actually a kit that I bought, I think 2 years ago, put it together, painted it. Fought for a while on whether or not I was going to put this on the layout. It was kind of bowed underneath. I actually found out the fix for that, so now it's perfectly flat underneath, and the couplers the knuckles don't swing up and down as it's crossing the bridge because it dipped down. It doesn't dip down anymore. So now that I fixed the bridge, I decided to use it since it's a nice little bridge, and I made it. So he's there. By the way, this is Granite Creek here, so it flows in under this bridge. It actually flows in this narrow creek passage here, and then goes out under this bridge. Or perhaps in the other direction, maybe the water flows in, the creek flows in this direction, under this bridge, through the creek bed, and out that way. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. So anyways, two out of the three bridges that I put in. The third one is over here. So I installed this one today. This is a bridge that I scratch built because it goes in a spot that has a curve. And I don't know of any readily available curved bridges that can be readily purchased. So I made this guy. I actually made this over the summer. I simply took some, I think these are micro engineering plate girder, just the plate girders themselves. I think they come like 4 to a kit. I painted them black, and I simply glued them on top of a piece of hardboard. So same material as this, 1/8. I think this is 1/8 inch hardboard masonite, and painted the whole thing black. Got the bridge abutments in there, so it'll support a lot of weight. Got to get the track kind of glued down, but that's in. And then the fourth and final bridge on the layout, I think this bridge existed in my May update, but I did create the abutments for them today. I've created all my bridge abutments in the last 5 days. I looked forever on the internet and in stores for bridge abutments that would fit my specific needs, and the short answer is there are no bridge abutments that fit exactly what I need without having to cut them up or modify them in some way. So I came to the conclusion that the easiest way to deal with bridge abutments is to just make them yourself. And I mean, the good news is that I don't think it takes a whole lot to make a bridge abutment. It's a block, a piece of rectangle or a square. I'll paint it gray, try to get some stonework in there, or maybe I'll even cover it with some of this stuff here. This is that paper I bought for the retaining wall, so I could glue this stuff on there, and I'm gonna call those things. I'll call those things done. So those are the bridges and the bridge abutments. All the bridges are in now. Now I got to make the wings as well for the bridge abutments, and get those wings blended into the scenery. Obviously, we got a wing that would go here, go back into the scenery, and be nice and seamless. So I'll make those as well, or as best as I can. And then I'll start the water work. Get some water in here, get some rocks and so forth. So that's the update on the bridges. Going back to the oil industry, I've always had the plan for this oil industry to have a fence, some kind of a fence. Usually when you see these oil industries, there's actually one near me. They're all painted white, which is why I painted this one white. Usually when you see these oil docks, people paint them black, and they're black on the box. For whatever reason, the oil docks near my home and near the refinery they're all white. So mine got painted white, but they always seem to have some kind of fencing around them, probably to keep the kids out, keep the riffraff out. So I always wanted a cyclone fence. I envisioned that would be, this is a really tight area, but I wanted a fence to get in there. And I installed this last week. This is a kit from, what is it, Plastruct? It's the, when you go to your local hobby shop, they got the whole end cap with all the plastic stuff that comes in. I think the wrapper is orange on the top, and they make all kinds of sidewalk plastic, styrene, all kinds of different shapes and sizes and patterns. But anyways, they sell a fence kit, and it comes with the this mesh plastic fence, and it comes with these rods that you cut up into 8-foot lengths and make them into fence posts. And you drill holes for them into the sub road bed or foam, whatever you got. Glue the fence. Well, I glued the fence to the posts. They're nice and tight and taut, and I think it looks pretty good. Probably not as tall, so if we set the camera at kind of eye level for where an HO scale person would be, that fence would probably be a little taller. There might even be some barbed wire on there if this was a serious security related fence to keep the riffraff out, but maybe I'll add some barbed wire later, but for now this is the fence. So I think this other than it being butted right up against the retaining wall, which I can't do really anything about, that's the track plan, the industry itself I like. So last but not least, you've seen some of this around the layout. Again, this is I've been working on a lot of scenery. I put the grass and the pavement in here. I still got to get line striping on the pavement. I got grass coming around here to the this lumber industry, but I've put in a lot of cardboard strips and plaster cloth and hot glue. So here's a hill coming from Granite Creek, and it's more or less a wall. I didn't want to use retaining wall for this whole section because, to be honest, this layout has a lot of retaining wall given the fact that it's a twice around in an 11 by 10 small room. So it's these kind of wall architectures are kind of the nature of the design, but where there was space, I wanted to kind of get away from retaining wall everywhere and get some, blend in some natural grass hill if there's enough area to slope it down where where retaining wall wouldn't be needed. So I've kind of done that here. So I get out of the retaining wall here, I get into the the grass hill, go further on. Here's the Granite Creek that needs to run through here. Move further down. Again, this is all plaster cloth that I've put in actually in the last couple days. This area here is the duck under. Okay, so this was all barren before. You can see this area in my last video. This has all been fitted now with cardboard strips and plaster cloth. Still need to put sculpt mold on, to get it, nice round edges, rather than these creases you see here, and you can kind of actually see the skeletal pattern of the cardboard mesh underneath. So we'll get that filled in with sculpt mold. But so I've put quite a bit of a plaster cloth in around the layout. All right, so those are the updates. It's been a lot of work. I've had my 10-year-old son in here. He was actually helping a little bit with the cardboard strips and the hot glue here, but for the most part, actually, for all of it, aside from the little bit of the help I get from my kids, I've been working on this all myself, outside of my day job and coaching hockey, as well as attending, my daughter's swimming. So I feel like this has taken a long time to pull together, but I feel like I'm starting to get close. Scenery, again, by far for me is the most daunting aspect. I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. I don't think that what I'm doing looks very good, especially when I see pictures and videos on the internet of work that other people have done. I don't have a lot of space in here to, tight spaces makes it hard to make the scenery more realistic, but doing what I can. I think maybe getting some more experience under my belt with it's going to give me a little bit more confidence. And I like what my kids told me the other day. They just said, "Stop worrying about it, Dad. It doesn't need to be perfect." That's probably some of the best advice that I've wanted to hear in a long time. And I think they're absolutely right. Because when I spend time thinking about it and trying to make it perfect, I'm actually doing more thinking than actually doing any work, and then no work gets done, and all I do is worry about it, and I worry about no progress being made, and so I feel, if I just actually get in the train room and work, whether the work is good or mediocre, at least it's work getting done. And as someone else pointed out to me, another hobbyist, once said, the scenery, if you don't like how it turns out, that's one of the things that you can actually fix, and start over with. It's not like ripping up the track or ripping up, the bench work, more of that permanent stuff. Scenery is actually relatively easy to cut out, tear out, pull out, whatever, and fix it and do it better. And, who knows, maybe on some of these sections I will end up doing that. But for me, I got to get the first pass done before I can worry about, getting it to look better. Oh, by the way, I can see something that I missed here. We got some retaining walls here in Prairie Co-op. Those went in. You can see that's that paper rock look that I've got with Elmer's white glue on hardboard. So this scene actually here is getting to be pretty close to being finished. So I had to get some weeds and brushwork in there, and I want to get some geese scattered around here because geese tend to find all the all the grain, and they like to flock and sit and eat that stuff. Haven't been able to find any geese yet though, but at some point I'll find them and I'll get them in there. But anyways, that is the update. I hope that I'm not forgetting anything, and once again I wish everyone a happy new year. Hope your layouts are operating well, coming along nicely if you're still in the process of building them. And if you've got any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section of this video. Thank you.